I'm going to be flashing some cards, and I'll be telling you the story of the Fool's journey as it appears. So I won't be focusing on the imagery, the colors, the different symbols that makes each card so full of meaning as they already are. So without further ado, let's begin. So at the start of every journey, we are new. We are unknowing of what's to happen to us. We are nothing but fools, facing the world with all the excitement that comes with not knowing what is to come. As fools, we don't know exactly what we're capable of. Like the number 0, there are thousands of possibilities, millions of possibilities. We can be what makes something the most of the most. We can be what makes something the worst of the worst. But until we take that first step, we won't know if we're going to fly. We won't know if we're going to fly, or we don't know that we're going to fall. But because the fool is a fool, the fool has to learn more about what they can do. And the fool goes forward to become an apprentice so that they can become the magician. So once you are a magician, or rather an apprentice to one, it's where you're learning about what is around you, how you can master the different tools so that you can affect the world around you. It's mastering the different elements: fire, earth, water, and air. And once you understand that there's so much more, you realize what good is learning, what good is book knowledge if you don't listen to yourself, if you don't realize what is intuition, if you don't listen to your inner self, if you don't develop your own morals, if you don't understand for yourself, even at the basic level, what is black, what is white. Listening to that inner voice gives rise to understanding energies. And I'm not talking energies like pagod ka na sa work. I'm talking energies like yin yang, feminine versus masculine. You discover your own feminine energy. You know now at this point, you know what skills you have, how these skills can affect the world. You know yourself so much. You know yourself as much as you know yourself at this point in your life. And you understand that everything you have, everything you're capable of, you can use this to make things grow. Now, whether what you're growing is your own literal garden, it's your career, it's your relationships with other people, this method of growth is good because you're just seeing things happen. But when you're allowing things to just happen like this, when you're just letting it grow and grow and grow, you realize that sometimes it grows into a jungle. It's something you can't control, which is why you need to tap into your masculine energy and bring in a little bit more control, a little bit more order, setting down the laws of what is and what shouldn't be. But the problem with setting what is and what shouldn't be, sometimes we discover that we're setting ourselves up for unmoving traditions. So this is the Hierophant. It also used to be called the Pope in historical older decks. Anyway, so once you have grown something, you've set all the orders on it, you've set the law, and you discover that some things are hard to change, or there are things that you cannot change. You've developed a tradition. You've developed rules that must be followed to a T. And when you have rules like this, it can get a little bit constraining because now you realize, okay, I've grown something, I've set it to order, and I've made all these traditions. But in setting all of these logical, these order things, these authoritarian items, you kind of lose the harmony within yourself. You lose the harmony with the things that matter. So when you see this card, it's not about actual love, it's not about actual marriage, it's about finding that balance between what matters. In this case, it's finding that balance between your feminine urge to nurture, to grow, to um, guide things, and the masculine urge to set order, to control what is around you. So finding that harmony, which can be finding that harmony can be difficult, but once you have that absolute harmony with what you want to achieve, it becomes very easy to just keep pushing forward. You have all that energy, you have all the power, and you just want to keep going. Like you're just going to keep going straight. You don't care about where you're going, what you're going. But why are you not caring about where you're going or why you're going? What is your purpose to this energy? Because you're the one who is supposed to be guiding this chariot. You're supposed to be holding the reins and directing where you're going. But if you're just going to let it run rabid, you might end up crashing. So it's understanding then what your true strength is. Are you the lion or are you its keeper? Are you attacking this issue, this time of your life, with aggression, or are you attacking it with gentleness? Knowing which strength to use at which time, for what reason, is the hallmark of true strength. You should know when to push back, when to stand back, and when something needs that push. So knowing the true strength needed for the situation allows you to realize that you don't know much after all. There's so much more to life than what you already know. And realizing this sets you off or sparks you on that journey of learning more about what you don't know. Because if there's one thing every wise person knows, it's that they know nothing. Everything you know at this point, it's nothing compared to the knowledge of the universe. There's so much more out there. And it's knowing that sometimes you're never going to get the answers you want. You're never going to answer the questions that are important. And when you realize that knowledge is more than just knowledge, when you accept that not everything is within your control, you are faced with the wheel of fortune. You never know when you're going to be on top. You never know when you're going to be in the bottom. Luck has lady luck, lady fortune, fortuna doesn't care who you are, where you are in this world. Sure, fine. Let's be honest, there's such thing as privilege. But even the most privileged people, if they're hit with bad luck, they fall, and they fall hard. So luck luck will not always be on your side. And when you accept that, when it becomes something that you're familiar with, you then have to decide for yourself, what do I stand for? This is different from setting order. This is different from setting rules. This is different from developing your own traditions. This is different from knowing for yourself what is black and white. This is what you stand for. When you know the things that you see as right and fair, when you know what it is that you will fight for, it makes things easier for you to move forward. But let's face it, it's not easy to really set down your own law for yourself that, oh, I won't stand for injustice. I won't stand for bullies. It's not easy to come to that realization. Because in order to come to this realization, or at least to solidify the things you want to realize, you need to take a step back. You need to take a step back, take a look at the entire situation from a different perspective. Because when you look at the forest, sometimes you don't see the trees, you don't see the twigs, you don't see the leaves, or in inverse, you see all the little details, but you don't see the bigger picture. So taking that step back to really think about what you're seeing, think about what you're moving forwards, it allows you to realize that, okay, fine. Maybe it's time for some change. Maybe it's time for some things to close so that some things can happen. So, uh, a little pause from the story here. The death card is one of those cards na a lot of people are scared of. And okay, fine. It's alarming. It's an alarming card. You've got a skeletal horse. You've got a skeletal guy on a horse in a battlefield of death people. But it's not a scary card if you really understand what it means. Death is the herald of new beginnings, because in order for us to move on with our lives, we have to have change. For us to begin new chapters of a book, we have to end the previous chapter. For us to have for us to have newer jobs, we have to leave our old jobs. So it's just a hallmark of change. And when you accept this change in your life, when you allow it to give you new space to grow, you are able then to identify your priorities. You are able to find the balance you need in life. You are able to find, these are my priorities before, these are my priorities now after this period of examination. And when you find that tipping point, that balance point, you'll find yourself a much more even, a much more uh, stable person, so to speak. I don't want to use the word balance because I've used the word balance so many times at this point. So once you find that balance within yourself, you realize that you're not just balancing what's important to you. You're not just balancing what you've learned thus far and what you're going to learn in the future. You're also balancing your light and your dark. This is another card that a lot of people get alarmed by because it's the devil and all that keke stuff. But in this case, this card is not about the occult. It's not about evil, so to speak. It's about what makes us human. Because the devil card represents everything that makes us human. The desires that we have, our wants, not necessarily our needs. These are the things that hold us back. These are the things that we're so tied down on because we must absolutely have this for whatever reason. When in reality, we don't really need to. And let's face it, everybody has their own demons. Everybody has that little devil on their shoulder. It's in coming to an agreement with that devil. It's in coming and saying, hey, I see you. I hear you. And I acknowledge that you are a part of me. You are what makes me whole. I am not just the light side of me. I am also my darkness. And when you come into agreement with that, when you realize that sometimes accepting your darkness or fighting your darkness, it changes your worldview so completely that it feels like you've been dropped off a tower. Falling from your ivory tower or whatever your tower is made of, falling so hard and so fast from something that you thought was, that's it. You thought that this is going to be your life now. You're not going to ever change. That you have to accept, again, much like the Wheel of Fortune, you have to accept that not everything is going to be sunshine and roses. You have to accept that there are things out of your control. And at this point, what's best is learning how to roll with the punches. Again, it's on you to rise up again. So when things like this happen, accept that some things aren't in your control and that you have the power to stand up again. Because when you fall in the dark of night and you look up, you realize that the stars are still there. There is still hope yet. You just need to keep on believing in yourself, in your own power. And it's nighttime. You have to find shelter. You have to find, at the night of your life, you have to find your purpose, what keeps you going. And you keep moving forward, keep working your way through the night. And in the light of the moon, things aren't exactly how do I put this? It's not exactly clear where you're going because it's so dark. You're only traveling by moonlight. And I mean, ika nga tayo, like, let's go outside right now and you don't bring a flashlight, you don't have the street lights. It's hard to move around. You don't know if the thing next to you is a dog, a cat, or I don't know, something that's going to get out to get you. You don't know how safe you are. But you have to remember that at this time of your life, at this point, you are the one that's propelling yourself. You have to remember that as long as you stay to the path that you have set for yourself, as long as you believe in where you're going, as long as you let go of all of the illusions that your mind is making up that, oh, you can't do this, oh, you can't do that, oh, people will not accept you for who you are. You have to let go of all of those fears, of all of those illusions, and just keep moving forward. Because it will always be darkest. It will always, always be darkest just before the sun rises. And when the sun rises, you realize that when looking back, you have come such a long way from that very first step into trying to find who you are, into understanding what you're capable of doing and exploring your possibilities. And it's at this time of your life that you realize, everything I need to be happy is within me. Everything I need to be happy is part of me. I am complete in and of myself. I understand now that happiness comes from what I have and not from wanting more. It's in being content, in being able to find the time to bend down, smell the flowers, go outside, listen to the birds sing. It's about enjoying life as it is and not forcing yourself to say, but my life needs to be like Kim Kardashian, like I see it on IG. No, your life is not social media account, guys. Be happy with it. And once you understand that, you then understand your own calling. Now, whether you are being called, whether after that realization you are being called for a higher purpose, you're being called to do more with what you've learned over your life, or you're the one doing the calling, trying to share the knowledge, share the wisdom that you've developed all through your life. That's up to you. That's your judgment call. That is the things that are important to you, the things that you have realized. And once you're able to do that, then I'm very happy to say that you've discovered that you are your own world. You make, control, develop, and design your own world. You are the master of your own universe. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the fool's journey.